Hello everybody and welcome back to Command Point. For this video today, Shane and I are going to be going through and doing a tier list for the 2021 Zenith tournament packet. Important context here, this tournament packet does not include the new rules included in the Pariah Nexus book, so this is a pre-Pariah Nexus tier list. Stay tuned soon because we'll be doing a post-Pariah Nexus tier list very soon. Unfortunately, we had some audio issues with recording our initial tier list. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to go through real fast and set up all the ones that we talked about before that in the tier list and then just go from there. Admech, going to be an A tier. Kroot, F tier. Deathwatch, better on this packet that they've ever been, but compared to other factions, D tier. Demons, A tier. Shane thinks these guys are probably one of the best factions at 125 on this packet. Asuryani, just above Admech, also an A tier. Astra Militarum, also an A tier. Just above Asuryani, just edging them out with Godfrey. Grey Knights, C tier. Death Guard, we've got him in B tier. Drakari, also in B tier. Better than Death Guard. Elucidian Starstriders, bottom F tier. Probably the worst faction. Gellerpox Infected, on the other hand, the other half of the Rogue Trader box, really good on Arena, have a lot of great models. B tier, just above Death Guard. All right, next we've got Heretic Astartes, and they are going to be just under Drakari. Necrons, surprisingly not an S tier team, just below Demons on this packet. So yeah, this is the tier list as it was, and now let's get into it.
That move really fast with Twisted Helix, and that's without even considering Cult Ambush and the possibility for that to go really well for the cults. Right now, I mean, I don't know. Do you think cults belong in B tier?
I'm not so sure about them. I mean honestly it just comes from I don't have a lot of experience with them, but I know that in the hands of a good player, they can go really far and
Yeah,
an
I
arena
agree.
tournament specifically. But they're so weak. And when
They're glass cannons,
there's
yeah.
such glass cannons and when you got factions like Blood Angels running around that'll just like absolutely smoke these guys. I think low B.
I was gonna say, I think that I would rather run cults if I was trying to win than Death Guard. And rather than bumping up cults, I almost feel like we should move down Death Guard. I mean, I even like consider whether Death Guard might be a tier too high, like top of
I
seed maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, because I mean like they're really like their strongest strength is the bodies they can bring with poxwalkers, right? So I think top C is fair.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely like them more than Grey Knights on the format.
Yeah, yeah. All right. Let's move on here to a faction of your choice.
Here's a tough one to place that I think we could talk about right now, and that is Harlequins. Harlequins, I mean, I actually think that Harlequins could do well. I think they love Arena. I think they really like the free choice secondaries.
Yeah.
And they're fast, so they can get to those middle objectives before the other teams do, and they can put themselves in situations where they're setting up charges out of line of sight, and
They have that one tactic where they can swap two models positions with each other and then they're both considered to have charged that turn, which is super powerful.
yeah, for sure. I mean, I think that they would be, if it wasn't for the Psyker matchup, they would potentially be like a B or even low A tier team. But
Yeah.
the Psyker matchups just kill them. And I mean, I can't put them higher than C because of that. But I mean, they're a good team if they can avoid those matchups, like very
Yeah.
strong.
If they dodge the matchup, do you think they get up to A?
I don't know about A, but they would definitely be B at least. I mean, they become a
Okay.
problem for a lot of teams.
So we'll stick them at low C for now, and then they dodge a Psyker matchup high A.
Well, high
Or
B, I
high
would say.
B, I meant to
Yeah.
say. Okay. Let's talk about Thousand Suns, speaking of Psyker matchups.
Yeah, Thousand Suns. I mean, they're interesting. They are. I mean, they have Cybolt, and at 125, they get to bring that Terminator without really sacrificing bodies. They kind of get a lot of stuff that they really want in a format like this.
Yeah.
What's odd about it is like, I mean, they are slow, which is, I mean, that makes their life harder on a hold format. And they're pretty much capping out at 5-inch movement. I think maybe the sorcerers have 6-inch movement, maybe, but that's about it. The main aspiring sorcerer. But even that, I'm not too sure about. He might even be 5-inch. So I think one of their strengths is those gunners that they can take.
Yeah, the Soul Reaper cannon.
Yeah,
Their Warp Flamers too are great on Arena.
that is true. The warp flamers are fantastic on arena.
And you don't have to be a gunner to take it. You can just take a plain old Rubric Marine.
Yeah,
And
for
I think
sure.
for no extra cost, right?
No, you have to pay for it, but it is like it's like a 19-point model, something like that.
Okay.
I mean, Thousand Suns are good.
Yeah, they're good.
They have this thing where it's like they're not easy to beat, but it's really obvious how to beat them. The issue is like executing on that
Actually,
plan.
yeah, yeah.
I mean, if you take down the sorcerers, the rest of the team kind of falls apart. Um, Granted, when one of the sorcerers is the Terminator sorcerer, that becomes a much more difficult problem.
Right.
I think they have a pretty good matchup against all the teams in B tier,
Yeah.
other than maybe Drakari. I mean, even Drakari they do pretty well against.
Yeah.
I mean, the more I talk about Thousand Suns, the more they sound good to me.
I know,
I mean,
right?
I do think that Drakari have a better matchup spread though, so
Yeah.
I would put them below Drakari, but I like them more than Heretic, Astartes, Gellerpox, and Gene Stealer Cult.
All right. I'm going to talk about one of my favorite factions here, Sisters of Battle.
Okay.
Sisters of Battle, I like them a lot. I think they're really cool with all the melee models they can bring, with the Endurant. Of course, you have to bring Godfrey if you're gonna be
Yeah.
playing in a tournament with sisters. Basically, we're talking about just an assault kill team that is a worse version of Imperial Guard is what it kind of boils down to. The Endurant is no joke for
Yeah.
a close combat model. So what do you think of sisters?
Yeah, I think they're. I mean, I think they love 125 points. They can suddenly bring like a good amount of models that it's not really you're not looking at them as just an elite team anymore, but they still have these really strong like assault models like the Arco Flagellants and Gottfred, and you can bring Pius, and you
Yeah.
can bring the Repentia. You have a few gunners in there as well. And what you have is a team that operates really similarly to something like Heretic Astartes. You're going to have less bodies, but you're going to have more killy things.
Yeah. A lot of wounds too.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of weapons that are going to kill a Berserker a lot easier than they'll kill an Arco-Flagellant, despite the fact that an Arco-Flagellant doesn't have an armor save. It just has a
Yep.
5-up feel no pain. I think they're better than all the teams in C tier, and I think they're another one of those teams that has a very like sneaky good matchup against Necrons, just because the volume of attacks that they can bring, the volume of 1 damage AP1 attacks, which is like a really nice sweet spot.
Mm-hmm.
You can take those heavy flamers with them. I mean, Pius Vorn does pretty well against Necrons, and it's hard for flayed ones to kill Arco Flagellants at the end of the day.
Yeah. All right.
Whereas, yeah. So I mean, I think top of C is a pretty decent spot. I mean, you could even maybe put him in the back of B, but
B's kind of crowded right now, and that's the only reason why I'm not. All right, let's do you pick the next one.
okay. What is that is that Custodes at, yeah, we didn't forget him this time, people. Everyone's always giving us crap about that. We just forego the Custodes ranking every time because they're just F tier.
Yeah, so it's like why even talk about them? Anything different on this packet?
I mean, there's only 3 of them, which makes holding very, very difficult.
Yeah, it makes
If
holding difficult, but here's the thing. On the arena boards for the Zenith packet, we kind of, I guess, we'll call it like fixed the doors. We took out doors where we saw them as more of a hindrance rather than a feature of the game. So I think because of that, you're not really on a lot of the maps. I don't think even a veteran specialist is a necessary take here.
Yeah,
And if one of your 3 custodes is now actually active and isn't a doorman, I think these guys are at least D. They're definitely better than Crude in my opinion, and I
oh yeah.
think they're better than Star Striders in my opinion. So I think they're at least D. They can choose,
Honestly, yeah. I
yeah,
mean,
they can choose whatever secondary objectives they want, and they're really good at killing. So I mean, I'm thinking they might be better than Deathwatch.
that's what I was thinking too. I think they are better than Deathwatch. You can kill Deathwatch. You can't really kill Custodes
Yeah,
reliably.
yeah,
Um, I mean, they are a super duper one-dimensional team. You know exactly what they're doing every game. Nothing they do should ever surprise you. That being said, I just think that they do the same thing as Deathwatch, but they just do a slightly better job. Yeah, Custodes D tier. This is as high as they've ever been for us. So
Yeah. Let's talk about the Space Marines.
yeah, I think Space Marines. I think they really like Zenith. I've been playing around a lot with them. I just did a blitz with Space Marines. I think they're very good here. I mean, 125 is a format that Astartes love. They can finally take the bodies that they want. Astartes for me, I I like Astartes more than Gene Stealer Cult. I like them more than Gellerpox. I might like them more than Heretic Astartes.
Yeah, I like him more than Heretic Astartes. I think they beat out Thousand Sons. I think they might be able to beat out Drakari. I
I
think they
I like
might.
their matchup versus Drakari.
Yeah, I'm thinking low A.
I think the lack of bodies hurts them.
Yeah, but they have the tools to beat everything, and if a Space Marine player is smart with their CP, they can just keep death denying almost every turn, or at least 2 turns out of the game. So
Yeah, I mean I think they're one of the two elite style approaches you can take on Zenith that is far better than the rest.
yeah,
I think top of B
top B.
is a yeah, I
Yeah,
think that's a good place
that's
for them.
yeah, that's a good spot. Okay, let's talk about Servants of the Abyss now.
Sure.
They're
Let's.
jank.
Yeah, I mean they're just kind of like a weird unoptimized horde.
Yeah,
They've got like some janky cybolts and
they've got that Ogren. Does the
uh,
Ogren have any play here now at
I mean
125?
it's 125. Every guy that I've talked to that's played Servants has said the same thing, that it is grossly overpriced at just about any point value.
Okay.
I think they're explicitly better than Crew. They both serve the same purpose of just being hordes, but I think Servants is just better. The question is, are Servants F tier or are they D tier?
Yeah. It's kind of like splitting hairs.
Can we really put a team in F tier if they have a Cybolt?
That's a good rule. That's a good rule. I like that rule now. That'll be a rule
Yeah, right.
going forward. If the team has a Cybold, it is not F tier.
Yeah, I mean, even as weird as that Cybolt is, the way it works though is he has enough wounds where he would have to perils twice for him to actually blow up and kill his team. And by the time he's like in a position for that to happen, you can actually kind of use it to your advantage by like dive bombing
Just using him as
the
a
other team.
suicide bomber.
Basically. Weirdly
Uh,
enough, yeah. That's how a lot
that's
of Servants players actually do it. So yeah, it's like a legitimate strategy with them.
that is hysterical. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's talk about a team that has no Cybolts, literally abhors the witch.
Oh.
The Sisters of Silence.
Yeah, I mean Sisters of Silence, they kind of fall a little bit into that Custodes trap I mentioned of being super one-dimensional. Whereas you only have one model. They don't have any invulns or anything. All one wound, and they fall victim to plasma very easily. That being said, they can take a lot more bodies at 125, and they totally ignore the Psyker matchup. They just ignore it. They just say no, and that's definitely worth something.
If a
They have,
faction ignores the Psyker matchup, it's not F. It's not F
yeah.
tier.
I mean, I think they're at least C tier. They're somewhere in C tier. I
I
don't think
I
they're
think
B
so.
tier, but
Do you think they're
yeah.
better than Sisters of Battle?
I don't. I think Sisters of Battle have a few more things going for them
Mm-hmm.
here. I don't know if I would put them above Death Guard. I would put them above Grey Knights for sure. Yeah, I think that's a good place for them.
Okay.
Right smack dab in the middle. They're a team that you can do well with them if you have good fundamentals.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Like there's
All
no particularly bad matchups outside of just pure plasma spam, which you don't even run into anymore.
Yeah. Okay, Shane. So we've gotten down to 3 factions remaining. And as you can see, there is no team in S tier. That means one of these 3 is the S tier team.
Yeah, and
So
honestly,
it's totally
those
Tyranids, right? Tell me why Tyranids are an S tier team here, Shane.
oh no, it's not Tyranids. It's
Oh.
certainly not. Tyranids have really taken a fall from grace, in my opinion, and we can talk all about why. So for starters, I think that the big bug Tyranid play style, it's been a long time that we've been looking at it. I mean, I think the jury's out. I don't think it's very good. I think it's really exploitable. I think it has a lot of weaknesses.
Mhm.
And I think a lot of teams have the tools to take care of it. That leads us to looking at the classic Horde, the 20-man list. And there's a couple problems with this. One, it's super one-dimensional. You know exactly what you're up against. Two, it dominated in a time before Elites came out. Since Elites has come out, the community has found ways to smash teams like that 20-man list. Once you start looking into the options that teams have, especially the higher tier teams on this list, like B tier and up, even like C tier and up, maybe with a couple of exceptions, most teams have the tools to just crush a pure 20-man horde like this, especially
Yeah.
a horde like Tyranids. I've seen people try and try to make this team work, and I just think they're in a bad spot.
Okay.
That being
So
said,
so
yeah,
they're
I mean,
so they're not S tier. They
certainly
don't
not.
ignore the Psyker matchup, and they don't have a Cybolt, so they got to be F tier, right?
Um, no, they're not. They're not F tier. They, I mean, I can't put them in B. I just can't.
Yeah. Yeah. There's no way.
I think they're explicitly worse than every team in there. I think they're honestly worse than Sisters of Battle. I think they're pretty good against Grey Knights. I think Tyranids do pretty well against Grey Knights. I would probably put them above Sisters of Silence, probably below Death Guard even. I mean, Tyranids have had like the biggest fall from grace, I think, as the meta has
Yeah.
evolved.
Yeah.
I mean, people just cannot figure. I mean, some of the best players in this game I have seen try to figure out Tyranids and how to make them work. It's like beating their heads against the wall because they're
Yeah.
just not. They're not the top tier they used to be.
Like the way this faction works is just fundamentally not good. All right.
All right.
So
Do
here
we
it
want to do the
is.
S? Do we want to do the S tier first? Talk about them first, or do we want to do the other one, or should we save the S tier for last?
Yeah, let's talk about the S tier faction first. Let's talk about the Orks, right?
Unfortunately, not. As much as I would
Damn
love
it.
to say that Orcs are the one S tier. That being said, I did mention earlier that I think that there were two elite teams that stood above the rest and gave these teams a run for their money. And I think Astartes is the second best of those elite teams. I'm done beating around the bush about this. I think the Death Skulls Orcs, like a knob heavy Orcs team, I think it is the single strongest elite team in this format.
Wow.
Like just
Okay.
period. And I've played a lot of Astartes. I've been practicing a lot of Astartes because I'm prepping with the team for the USA vs Spain tournament that's going on right now. And side by side, I've been playing a lot of the Death Skull Orcs, and I can tell you, playing them both, the Orcs just feel better. I feel like they just have more. Both teams are really good, and Orcs obviously do not have Death Denied, but man, the Death Skulls. And here's the benefit of taking an elite team is when, say you're playing as Orcs, if you want to take the Evil Sun's Boy Horde, which is really good on WWO, with the open choice secondaries, suddenly your opponent can take, they can take Cut Apart, they can take Bounty Hunters,
Yep.
they can take Attrition, they can take Thin Their Ranks.
Yep.
Those are 4 secondaries out of like that's almost a third of the secondaries in the packet that are suddenly opened up the second you decide to take a bigger list. Now compare that to Death Skulls, who they have access to very cheap multi-damage. They can get 2 damage weapons at like strength 7 on like a 17-point model. For Astartes, if you want multi-damage, you're talking like 22, 23 points per model. Orcs are re-rolling charges natively, which is Black Templars. And if you take Death Skulls, you're getting Salamander rerolls. So it's like you're combining like Salamanders, Templars, like almost like Blood Angels with how high strength all these Orc models are. It's like you're combining them all into one team, and that's like what this Death Skulls Orcs team are. And then on top of it all, they have the multi wounds, they have the 6-up invuln, and they've got the best flamer in the game as far as when you consider the tactics that you can use, like Daka Daka. I think Orcs are A tier, and honestly, I like them more than Eldar. I
Yeah.
might even like them more than Militarum.
I think that's good. I mean, like it explicitly like Death Skull works. This is what we're
Yeah,
talking about here.
yeah. I mean,
And
I
I
think Evil Suns would be like a B tier team. I still think they'd be good and competitive, but I don't know. The Death Skulls are they are something else here. And people are starting to figure it out too. They're starting to notice. There's more and more Death Skull players. I think we're going to see it in Zenith for sure.
all right.
So, yeah, and now here we are. Tau. I mean, I think that they are head and shoulders the best team in the game right now. And especially on this on hold 1, hold 2, hold more. Shield drone spam is just I mean, we talked about it on the stream the other day.
It's so oppressive.
Yeah, and the things that I mean, you look for a faction that has the ability to efficiently deal with 7-point models with 4-up invulns and 5-up feel no pains that are toughness 4, and you look at every faction, and eventually you just realize that that faction doesn't exist in the game.
Yeah.
There there is no answer to it that is actually efficient. You kind of just have to hope. And when you can spam those bodies, it's like they're going to hold more. They're faster than you. They have 8-inch movement and fly, so they're going to beat you to the objectives. Once they get there, it's going to be hard to displace them and get them off.
Yeah, you can't kill them.
Yeah,
They can lock you up, hold you in position. They can do things like cycle charge you because they have the numbers for it. It is brutally oppressive to play against this faction.
yeah,
They don't even have to kill any of your models to win.
yeah. And it is like if you're playing a melee team, it all it can take is one bad round where you don't get the kill, and you're just the game's over.
Yeah,
Like you're stuck forever now.
they're just gonna run ahead of you on points, and you can't catch up.
Yeah, because they're going to get an early points lead because they're going to beat you to the punch on those objectives. They will never have to kill you because with the free choice secondaries, they can spec into positionals. I mean, yeah, they're going to overwhelm you. They're going to have more bodies than you most of the time. The only thing that really can maybe beat it is a bigger horde. And the problem with that is those bigger hordes have a much worse matchup spread. So like you can take something like the 20-man gaunt list and you can maybe beat Tau with it. That list is going to lose to a lot of things that Tau doesn't really worry about. Is it really even a counter at that point?
There is something to be said where it's you build a list to beat the best and then outplay the rest, but a Tyranid 20 gaunt spam or Tyranid gaunt spam is not the way to go.
Yeah,
You're
you're
just
you're
you're just hemorrhaging secondary points to your opponent if you take that list.
yeah.
So it's just hard, man. Tau, they're hard to beat. They're so good.
Yeah, this is the Zenith tier list. This is the very last tier list that we were doing before Pariah Nexus. So expect to see those Marines a few spots higher at the very least.
One or two,
Yeah, maybe
or two, or
one or
S plus. S
yeah,
plus
maybe we'll make a
is
new
a
tier.
yeah.
Yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. Let us know what you think about this tier list. The Zenith tournament, the Zenith qualifiers right now are happening throughout this month.
Yeah.
We are streaming games. One of the games is already uploaded onto our channel. Keep an eye out for those. And then at the start of April, the Zenith finals, the final 16, the top 16 players of our ELO season are going to be competing in Zenith. We're going to be streaming as many games as possible. So look forward to that, and we'll see how our tier list kind of shapes up.